Today's Did You Know real estate number is 10. That's the average number of homes a home buyer sees before making an offer. Welcome into the First Time Keys podcast. This is your host, Adam McAllister, and welcome into episode number 10. That's right, we've made it 10 episodes. I think I was looking at a statistic, and I think it was any podcast that goes past 4 episodes is now considered a committed podcast. So, damn it, we're committed. I'm committed to you. You're committed to me, and we should all just be committed. So, but welcome in. Again, if you haven't done so already, hit the like and subscribe button. Really appreciate you being along for the ride as we continue to bring you. And my goal is to help make you the smartest home buyer you possibly can be when it's time for you to move forward and buy your first home. And with that, again, I thank you for everything and all the time you're able to give me for this show. By the way, if you're watching this episode on YouTube, today's a hat day. Look, we all have them, and today's mine. Now, I don't know, and I know, completely shameless plug for my brokerage. So do I need to? Do I have to in middle-age white guy podcast protocol? Do I need to go backwards hat? I mean, I'm not really back. I think is that the rule? Okay, that's all right. So here we go. Told you, totally messed up hair. And all right, there we are. Ladies, is that better? You're welcome. That's right. We're now backwards hat podcast guy. All right. So today's show is all about the hunt, the house hunt, and hoping that you brought X-ray vision, and most importantly, a realtor who knows what they're looking for when they're out showing you homes. As we kicked off the show talking about the average number of homes that a buyer typically sees before they submit an offer, that average number is 10, which is sort of an arbitrary number. And I say that because you may go out and find your home in that very first showing. It happens. I've had several folks. I've got folks that close on their home next Friday, and the very first home we saw was their house. And it took them completely off guard because they were like, we're not in a hurry. We've got time. We'll kind of see what all these look like. And we went out for the first real showing, and lo and behold, they found their house. Now, I've had other buyers where we've seen a lot, and that 10 number can sometimes be multiplied by tens. And it's all important because at the end of the day, I want you to have your home, and the one that matters to you, the one that means and feels like home. So sometimes it takes more than 10. Don't think that when you get out there, there's some magic number that says, oh, if I haven't found my house by the time I see 10 homes, I'm never going to find a home. That's completely false. Don't hang on to that, okay? I want you to know that your house is out there, and it may take more than 10 homes. It might take one. It might take six. I think the average number of homes that I show folks in a quasi-normal market, which is something we haven't been in now for over 5 years, is somewhere around 5 to 6 homes. But it all comes down to the number of homes, the housing inventory that you have to pick from, the budget that you're working within, and what are your wants and needs. What is it that's most important for you? And then how does that translate into the homes that are on the market? Sometimes, and in some areas, there just aren't enough homes that search goes on for a while. Just because you need more housing inventory, you need more food on the menu to pick which one you really want to have for dinner, so to speak, till you find your house. So again, don't get hung up on that number. Just know that, 10 is about the average. But if it takes less, awesome. If it takes more, so be it. But the most important thing is at the end of the day, you've got your home. So today, we're talking about the house hunt, what to look for, what to ignore, and how to spot a house that's been flipped faster than a pancake at a greasy spoon diner. All right. That happens a lot. I know in our area, we are just infiltrated with a ton of investors. And I almost put investors in air quotes because look, this is a podcast. There's a bunch of podcasts out there and some very notable podcasts that people listen to that think by listening, they're going to make millions of dollars wholesaling and flipping homes. And look, there's a lot of money to be made in real estate investing, in flipping properties, in holding properties, in wholesaling. Now, as a realtor, I wholesaling is a whole other topic that we're going to get into in another day, and I've got the perfect guest for that lined up. So there is a lot of money that can be made in property investing, but there's also a lot of heartache that can be involved with property investing when it's done poorly. And you have a lot of investors out there that are doing it poorly because they're trying to get in, get out, make as much money as they can, and condition be damned. And those are the things that I want to discuss with you today. In addition to the normal homes that you're going to see out there, but in particularly some of the red flags you're going to find with all of the investors and all the flipped homes that are out there. And real quick, I want to talk about the differences between a flipped home and a rehabbed home. This is a conversation I have with my buyers, with my clients all the time, because we're going to see both. You're going to see homes that are flipped, and flipped homes meaning they got bought, they got a team in there as quickly as possible, they got in, they got out, they made it look pretty, they stuck it on the market, and hoping to sell it as fast as possible. But you'll know automatically going through it that, man, this thing was rushed. A flipped home is done purely for profit, condition be damned, okay? Then you have homes that are rehabbed. These are still investor owned homes, but they cared about the quality of the work that was done. They want to make sure that if they run into you at the local grocery store, you're not going to go out and stab their tires with a knife, okay? You're not going to wish bodily harm on them. They're going to make sure that yes, they made profit, but at the end of the day, they also know that at closing, you got a solid home that is going to serve you for years to come. There's always going to be repairs. There's always going to be upgrades that you're going to want to make. That's part of being a homeowner. But as far as getting you a safe, reliable home that you can call home, that's the difference between a rehab property and one that's been flipped. And I am proud to say that the investing group that I'm a part of, that is really what we're concentrating on, is rehabbing a home and not flipping it. You know, the typical millennial gray paint and vinyl plank flooring, all the signs of a flip. We're going to talk about those today. So, are you ready? Okay, let's get into it. The basics of a home showing. So, what's the goal of a showing? So, the goal of a home showing is not just to drool over the fancy new kitchen, okay? The goal of a home showing is to find out, is what I saw in pictures legit, and could this actually be my home? All right, that's the goal of a home showing, is to find out whether or not that house could be home. When you get there, there are two key areas you're going to look at: the exterior and the interior. Now, we are recording this at a time of the year where we're at the tail end of winter, which means we're going to start getting more daylight in the evening time. If you're looking at homes in the wintertime, first off, good on you, because there are some amazing. If you want to buy a home and you want to try to save as much money as you possibly can, buy in the wintertime, because there's less competition now. This is a whole other topic and a whole other podcast. But if you're looking at homes in the wintertime, there are some great deals and some great savings to be had. But the downfall of buying in the wintertime is, in order to see the home properly, you really need to be there during daylight hours, which means you might be taking off some time from work if you work a traditional Monday through Friday 9 to 5. Or you're getting out when the bulk of people are getting out, which is on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, which is when most of your buyer competition is out there. So again, there's a couple subplots here. One, yes, we're checking for time, but also two, realizing that if you're getting out when all your competition's out, you're competing at that point. But to get back to our main point, which is condition. So getting out during daylight hours, why is that so important? Because you want to see the exterior of the home. Most importantly, you want to see the condition of the roof. Now, things to keep in mind within the last year, insurance underwriting, home insurance underwriting has changed. And most of it is going to be going after the age and the condition of the roof. Roof has to have some solid years left on it in order for your potential homeowner's insurance company to underwrite and cover the house. So the first thing you want to look at is up at the roof. What kind of roof is it? Is it a three-tab shingle roof, the old traditional flat style shingles? Is it an architectural shingle roof? Now, an architectural shingle roof looks like it has layers, almost like a little group of pyramids going up through the house or up to the roof. If you've got a metal roof, what's the condition of the metal roof? Are there holes? Is it rusting or is it in good shape? Do you have a rubber roof? If it's a flat roof, particularly if you're looking at homes in the city where the roofs are flatter, they have just a little bit of a slant to them in order for rainwater to flow off of them. What's the condition of that rubber roof? Are you starting to see sags? Are there seams that are opened up? Now, if you're in another area in the country, like out west, where you've got terracotta and clay type roofs, a little bit different situation. But for the majority here in the Mid Atlantic, you're going to find two key roof styles: three tab shingles, which are older, architectural shingle roofs, which are newer ish. They've been used within the last 25 years. You also, when you're looking at the outside, want to pay attention to the chimney. Is the chimney, it's more than likely going to be brick. Do you see any loose bricks? How does the mortar work? Can you see cracks? Or is there missing mortar between the bricks? If so, that might need to be rebuilt. Um, these are things you can see during the home showing, especially in daylight hours. Obviously, you're going to check out the rest of the home. If it's a brick home, same as the chimney, you're going to look for deteriorating brick, missing mortar. If it's siding, is there missing siding? What's the condition at the bottom of the siding? Because let's face it, the bottom of the siding could have deterioration or be beat up from lawn mowing. Rocks, stones coming out of the mower and hitting the siding and beating it up. So things you want to look at along the exterior. Most of your focus, though, is going to be inside. Okay. Pay attention to the layout, natural light, the flow. Does the interior of the home, does it make sense? Or was it designed by someone who lost a bet? That's important, especially in the kitchen. Does the kitchen layout, does it make sense? Now, if you are door dashing and Uber eating everything and getting pizza delivered, kitchen may not be most important. However, if you like to cook, or you're dating or you're married to someone who does cook, does that kitchen work for them? Can they make that kitchen work? Again, very important. Does the rest of the layout of the house work? The living room, dining room, beds, does it have enough space? Now, the next piece of this, give the house the old smell check. All right. If the house smells like a Febreze factory blew up in it, you're probably going to run the other direction. Okay. What are they possibly hiding if it smells like that? I mean, there's the old adage when people would list their home, and some folks still do this, where they're putting their house on the market and it was, okay, we're going to bake cookies just before showings, especially like an open house. Now, a lot of folks would bake some chocolate chip cookies or they would bake snickerdoodles, that fresh baked cinnamon chocolate chip made you feel like you were coming home to grandma's house. All well and good. Unless, of course, you baked cookies and you didn't leave any for me to eat when we get there for the home showing. Now you're just going to piss me off because now I want cookies. This fat kid wants cookies. All right. But if it smells like cookies and cat pee, that's a reason to be concerned. Or it smells like cookies and an entire carton of Marlboro Reds. Again, reasons to be concerned. Other things you want to check out when you're at the home: test everything. Open doors, open windows, turn on the faucets, flush the toilets. Yes, be that person because you want to make sure everything is functioning in the home. Now, areas that you don't go into, personal areas. It's okay to open up closet doors to see the space and the size and to make sure the doors work, but we do not go into personal belongings. We don't go into drawers. We don't go into, chest of drawers and wardrobes. Those areas off limits. They're not yours. But everything else you want to be paying attention to. Um, the other thing you want to keep in mind is, and most importantly, is what are the bones of the house? Go down into the basement. I tell folks this all the time. The most important part of the home is the basement, if it has one. Now, you may be in an area where you don't have basements, down south, out west, near a coastal area, probably not dealing with basements. Here in our area, they're everywhere. Look at the foundation. Go downstairs especially if the foundation is exposed. Everyone loves a finished basement. But when you're buying a home, nothing you're going to love more is an unfinished basement because it gives you access and the ability to see the condition that foundation is in. And most importantly, are there cracks in the foundation? Is it breaking? I mean, you will sometimes see in homes where it's shifted, maybe couple courses of block down in a concrete block foundation, where it's actually cracked and you can see daylight forming between the courses of block. That's a run from. Now, if it's a newer foundation, it's more than likely a poured concrete foundation, superior walls. There, not so much an issue, but those can crack still. So you want to pay attention to the foundation when you're down in the basement. You also want to look at the brains and the heart of the home, which would be the HVAC system. What's the age of the furnace? Does it date back to the Carter administration or is it rather recent? What kind of furnace is it? Is it a forced air? Is it a boiler? If you don't know the difference, we'll teach you what those are. But your agent should also be able to help you through what are the systems of the house. So the furnace, the hot water heater, we've already talked about the roof. Think of those big ticket items as you're going through because everything else is cosmetic. But what is the condition of those big ticket items? Because it's one thing to have to go to the hardware store, to Lowe's, Home Depot, and get paint. It's a whole other thing to have to call out a contractor right away to replace a furnace system. All right. So a couple things to keep in mind as you're entering the home and as you're inside of it, some key areas to look at. Now, what if you are looking at an investor home? What are the investor flip warning signs? All right, here we go. We're going to talk about the houses that get the very rushed glow up for a quick sale. Cheap cosmetic fixes is our first. If everything looks too new, but the bones are old, ask questions. Just what we discussed with looking at the basement. I've been in plenty of homes where they have come in, done the millennial grade paint, they put the fancy new kitchen in, and you get downstairs and the furnace is older than my grandfather. Okay? All of the work, all of the money was put into all the things that look pretty, but at the end of the day are things you could have done yourself. No money was put into the actual workings of the home. So keep an eye on that. Also, paint, paint cover ups. Fresh paint is nice, but is it hiding water damage or is it hiding cracks? And did they spray over everything? Okay. Cheap flippers, they are synonymous with this. You'll go down into a basement and one, they painted all the walls and they put gray epoxy paint on the floor. Why do they do that? One, to make it look nice and show better. But secondly, it covers up water stains that you may not know were there, especially in an older home. If you were in a home that was built back in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and it's an old concrete block foundation that has water issues coming in and they've dried them up and then painted with epoxy, you're never going to know they were there. So you want to be looking for areas where there still may be moisture, or if you see one of those epoxy floors, take a flashlight with you because those old stains will still shine through that epoxy if you're hitting it with the flashlight just right. So, a little tip there from your Uncle Adam, take a flashlight. It's not just for dark homes. The other thing here with that is the overspray everywhere. So we talked about the epoxy floor, we talked about them painting the walls, but it's very common that they've painted the unfinished ceiling because typically it's an older home that doesn't have the finished ceiling. So what they'll do is they'll take their paint sprayer and they'll just paint everywhere and you'll end up with overspray over top of the furnace, on the hot water heater, on the electrical service panel. It's just spray painted everywhere. Be on the lookout for that. It's usually a red flag because it meant that they were in and they were out and they were trying to get it done quickly. What about material choices? Vinyl flooring where there should be hardwood. Now, some of this is legit. If you're dealing with a floor that's older, that's gotten scratched up and dinged up and beat up, a lot of times a vinyl plank floor is just easier to do than trying to restore an old wood floor, especially if it's original, than just to put down new. And sometimes that's perfectly okay. What you want to be aware of is if you see vinyl plank flooring and then you go up underneath and you see termite damage. So they were trying, in that instance, they were trying to cover up termite or bug damage and structural issues with the floor as opposed to fixing it and making sure you have a structurally supported house. You also want to be on the lookout for tile work that looks suspiciously like a sticker. Again, did they have an actual tile person come in, or was it a brother's, buddies, uncle's roommate once removed who said they could do tile work, but instead your OCD is going crazy, and what's worse is you don't have OCD. Okay? So be very cautious and make sure you're paying attention to the finishing work. Keeping that in mind, look at the moldings. Did they very quickly, instead of using quarter rounds, which are a specific type of molding, did they just take blocks of wood and jam them together and paint over them quickly? I've seen a lot of that lately. It's supposed to give a modern look. However, when it's done incorrectly, it just looks cheap and quick. So something else to keep in mind of, and that is looking at the moldings. Look under the sink. Plumbing can tell you a lot about what's going on behind the scenes. Take a look under all the sinks. Hell, I've been in homes where they didn't even have the plumbing connected. You got to run the water and you open the sink only to find out that they never actually connected the plumbing from the bottom of the sink to the drain. So be careful. Open up the sinks first. So those are all things you want to be aware of and some investor flip warning signs when you're going through properties. And your agent should be able to tell you if that's an investor owned home, and if so, what to be on the lookout for. We'll be right back with what's too good to be true after this. Hey, it's your Uncle Adam, and I know I'm trying to make you the smartest home buyer possible, but I would also be remiss if I didn't toot my own horn every now and then and let you know that if you're trying to buy a home, Connect with me. Send me a message. No matter where you're trying to buy, I can connect you with a great agent. If you're looking to make a purchase of a home here in South Central PA or Maryland, guess what? Uncle Adam's got your back. But if you're also outside that area, I've got a network of thousands of great agents from all across the country that are going to be able to help you make a smart home buying decision. So if now's the time for you to make that home purchase, send me a message, comment on this podcast, and let me help you connect with the right agent in the right area to help make you the best first time home buyer you possibly can be. You can also send me an email at adam at mmt with exp.com. That's Adam at MMT with exp.com, and email me where you're looking to buy and let me help you connect you with the right agent to help you make that purchase. And now let's get back to the show. Let's discuss the too good to be true syndrome. What's too good to be true? All right, here's an example. If it's the cheapest house in the best neighborhood, question why? Is this a home that was haunted by a bad contractor? Or is this a home that is just in really, really poor condition? There's a reason why, and your agent will be able to tell you why that is the home in the condition that it's in. I got a message over the weekend for a home over in the Hanover area from one of my first time home buyers. And she's looking for a home in a very tight price range. And this is a home that showed up, and she's like, "Hey, Adam, can we go take a look at it?" And unfortunately, this is a home that is pretty much a cash only purchase due to condition. So if you are looking in an area where it might be a little bit lower than what the average price point is, be cautious and ask and have a great conversation with your agent and get the skinny on that house before you waste your time and your gas driving out to see it only to find out that that home's not going to work. So if it's the cheapest house in the best neighborhood, find out why. Um, there may be more going on with it. It could be a distressed property that you may not want to deal with. And we'll talk more about distressed properties in future podcasts because there are ways that those can be an amazing buying opportunity, but they also come with a few extra added curriculars that you're going to need to do to make them those. So if you're looking for a quick turnkey move-in house that you can just set up shop and make it home, probably not the best decision, but we will talk about them in a future episode about how to make them potentially one of the best and smartest buying decisions you could. What else is too good to be true? Google the property history. Was it just bought 3 months ago and it's suddenly back on the market? If so, that's probably a flip. Okay. And if so, refer back to number 3, investor flip warning signs. And number 3, ask about warranties on any new work. If they installed a brand new HVAC, but there's no paperwork, that's a red flag. Anything that is a significant item, and I use that term usually when we're talking about inspections, but if it's a significant piece of the home, you want to make sure you have some type of warranty or at least a contact information for the contractor who installed it. The last thing you want to do is get involved with a home that the furnace was installed by the uncle's cousin who did it for a 6-pack of Paps. Not saying they didn't do good work, but 6 months, a year later, when you're having issues with that furnace, is Uncle Cletus going to be available to take your call and come over and make the fix? Or more than likely, you're calling an actual qualified HVAC service technician who's going to come out and go, "What the hell happened here?" So again, we all like to get work done as cheaply as we can and make sure it's done right. But sometimes it's just the first one and it's buyer beware. So again, any work that's been done on the home, you want to make sure you have some qualified paperwork, some warranty information. And if you're selling a home and you're going, "Oh, yeah, I know there's some projects that need to be done, but I'm also trying to save some money," keep this in mind. Any area that you save money on by having it done cheaply, not by a licensed technician, is an area of liability that can come back to you as the home seller in your area. So again, paying that extra 100, 200 bucks may mean all the difference in the world of having less headaches and a reason to worry down the road should that issue come up for the new home buyer. So just a little word to the wise from your Uncle Adam. So yeah, make sure you, if you are seeing work that's new on a home, that you've got warranties. Now, if it's paint, if it's, flooring that's just basic, you're not going to have warranties with that. But anything that is a significant upgrade to a home, roof, furnace, hot water heater, air conditioning system, things like that. Those are things you want to make sure you have warranty work and warranty information on. Okay. So, some things to keep in mind. Now, some red flags that aren't quite as obvious. All right, let's get into these. Slanted floors. Depending on the home, this could be a given. If you're looking at a home that's over 100 years old, and I was in one just last week, good chance you're not going to find a single floor in that house that's level. So if you've got a set of marbles, have fun. But if it's a newer home, those slanted floors aren't just character, it's a foundation issue. So, and even on the older homes, there's a reason why that's slanted. The home gave way at some point. You want to make sure, though, that it's not doing so much that it's going to create a bigger issue that a few years down the road, you're not sitting just in a pile of rubble because that home has shifted that much. Again, go back to the foundation conversation. If you've got a foundation that's shifting, not a foundation that's shifting, a foundation that's shifting, that's a huge expense. That's a huge bill and huge work that would have to be done in order to rectify that. So you want to be careful there. Sticking doors and windows, same thing. I was in a house a week and a half ago that there was water getting in. Also, key here. Little tip from your Uncle Adam: get out and look at homes when it's raining. Seriously. I know you're going to have to put a jacket on. You might have to take an umbrella. You might get wet. Do yourself a favor. The worse the weather, the better it is to get in and see a home, especially rain. Got a weird itch here by my mouth. Sorry about that. Get in and see the house when it's raining, especially if it's a downpour. So there was a house I was in a week and a half ago, and first floor room that really was more of the old front living room. Again, this is a house that had been flipped, and there was water that had puddled in the front living room. And it was a weird spot because that section of the home completely above grade, above ground, in fact, above street level, and could not figure out why would water be coming in and settling there. And I'm looking all around the window, and all of a sudden I put my hand at the very top of the window frame, and the molding at the top of it was damp. It was like a sponge. It was that wet. And water was just seeping out of that spot and then finding its way, big word time, matriculating, yes, water matriculating, down the window frame and eventually dripping from the windowsill down into the floor. And that's what was causing the water to puddle in the living room floor. We then go, and then now it's a scavenger hunt. It's where is that water coming from? Because there's an overhang, there's a window frame, there's an overhang with a roof that's metal. How are we getting water into that frame? So the scavenger hunt continues. We go upstairs and we look out, and here over the roof, you can see where a small section of the rubber roof over top that had made the base, there was a hole there. And water was getting down to that spot, down into the hole, following down, getting into that window frame, and working its way inside. So again, all that to say, keep an eye out on your windows, your doors, and get out during bad weather, because that's when you're going to find the real condition of the home. If it's 75 degrees and sunshiny, Every home looks good. Even a bad home looks good in 75 degrees and sunshine. But if it's 40 degrees and it's just bucketing down rain, get out and see that home because you're going to see any leak point that house might have during that time. Other things to be aware of that aren't quite so obvious: creative electrical work. Do you flip the lights on and they maybe not come on? You got to get the switch in just the right spot. Yeah, be on the lookout for those. Mismatched outlets. Why are they not matching up? They should all be the same. How does the breaker panel look? Does it look like somebody's science experiment that went wrong? We'll get into the actual electrical panel when we talk to our home inspector in a few weeks here on the show. But as far as what you can see with the naked eye, look at the electrical system in the house. Also, a key thing: look at the outlets in the rooms. Are they three prong? Are they grounded for a three prong outlet? Or are the old two prong outlets? Okay. Remember, if you see a two prong outlet, more than likely you're going to need to have an electrician come in and upgrade those outlets. Look for three prong. Next and finally, water stains and mold. Now, water stains can be common, but are they old and have they been fixed, or are they new? Old water stains are going to be brown. They're going to have a brownish tint to them. The question is, were they fixed? Or is there still a water issue going on in the home? And then there's mold. There's surface mold and there's black mold. Surface mold, can it be cleaned? Can it be repaired? And can you move on with life? And is there black mold? Black mold, let me tell you, when it comes to mold, none of it is good. However, basic surface mold you can work with, that can be taken care of and fixed and remediated. So can black mold. However, when you go into a basement where there's black mold, it literally feels like there's someone else in the room with you. It has an odor, it has a feel. Remember the movie Venom? It sort of is like Venom. Like it just overtakes the space and you know it. It's there. So black mold, yeah, absolutely run from that stuff. Oh my God. So yeah, water stains and molding and mold, you definitely want to be aware of and don't mess with. You want to make sure it's being taken care of. Some issues are bigger than others. Some are, most water issues in a basement are 90% of it is downspout and gutters. If they're getting water in the basement, go outside and take a look at the gutters. A lot of times it's a missing downspout that's off it, and all that water is going down alongside of the foundation. And eventually, over time, it has nowhere else to go but to seep inside. Most of that can be fixed with downspouting and gutters before you get into actually, having to excavate and add more landscaping around. So just be aware of when you're going in, especially again, down in the basement. All right. So we've checked out all the red flags. We've looked at everything that could make it an investor flip property. Now let's go to the good side. We've gotten through all that. What do you do if you're actually interested? Well, here's the first thing to keep in mind. Don't get too emotionally attached on the first showing. Stay cool, stay calm. It's good. If you like it, that's a good sign. See if you can come back to the house a second time. Now, if it's a hot and heavy market and things are moving very quickly, you may not get the opportunity. But if you have any chance to get back in there, even the same day, let's say you went and saw the house that morning and you're like, oh, this could be the house. Can we go grab lunch and come back and take a second look at it? That's great. Or even the following day. Why? Because the first time you're in a home, you're going to see things. The second time you're in a house, you're going to see new things. You're going to see different things because your eyes have already gotten trained to look in certain areas. Now they're going to look for things that look differently. There was a home that we had listed years ago. And this was a home that was built by a contractor, fully customized home. But unfortunately, like some homes that were built by contractors, they kind of left a whole series of projects that never quite got finished. And every time we were in this home, we would see a different project and a different issue that we missed the time before. And we've been in this home numerous times. And even during the open house that we had on this home, every time we would take a walk through a different room, we were like, oh, we missed that. Oh, did you see it this time? Hey, did you see that one? So again, every time you're in a home, you're going to see things you didn't see the last time through. So try to get in a second time. Obviously, you're going to take in a trusted real estate agent like me, but or someone I connect you with. So they're going to know what to look out for and things to look out for you. So the other thing you also want to keep in mind is if you do decide to write an offer on this home, you definitely want to have a solid inspection. You truly want to invest the time and invest the money into having that home properly inspected by a legit home inspector. The other thing, you want to make a list of questions for the seller. If they haven't sent you a copy of the seller disclosure, side note, when you're buying a property, especially here in Pennsylvania, it is a state law that the seller must furnish you a copy of the seller disclosure. What that paper is, it's about 10 to 11 pages long. And it's everything that the seller knows about the home from the moment they bought it up until the time that they put it on the market. So that seller disclosure is going to have in there the age of the roof, the age of the furnace and the HVAC system, excuse me. It's going to have in there the age of the major systems of the house. It'll have in there any major repairs or upgrades that the owner did to it during their ownership. So you want to make sure that you get a copy of that disclosure. And if there's any questions that you get outside of that, have your agent talk to the listing agent and have them ask those questions to get those answered. So these are all things that you want to consider once you've gotten in to see the home, and if you've gotten to the point where you're now emotionally attached to this home going, oh, I think this might be it. All right, so do you have all that? What are the key things to keep in mind? On the outside, you want to be looking at the roof, you want to be looking at the chimney, and checking the exterior of the home, brick or siding. Inside, don't get hung up on the kitchen and all the things that look pretty. Get invested in the boring things, the foundation, the furnace, the hot water heater, the AC system, the big bones and nervous system of the home. Those are the things you want to be focusing in on. Then looking at the functionality of the home. Does the floor plan work for you? Does it have enough space? Do you have room to put your furniture? Now, keep in mind, if it's the house and you might have to go buy a new couch, get the house. You're always going to change out a couch, okay? Just because your certain nightstand won't fit there doesn't mean it's not the house, okay? Now, granted, if it's your nightstand from your great-great-great-great-grandmother from the War of 1812 and you're emotionally attached to the nightstand, I get it. But if it's not, get the house, then go get a new nightstand. Do you have all this? Any questions? Send me a comment. Now, the last things to keep in mind are tips. One, if it smells weird, if it looks too perfect, or it seems too cheap, there's probably a reason why, and you probably want to run. Thank you again. Join us for our next episode. I've got tips on first-time home buyer mortgage programs. Wendy Landis from CMG Financial is going to be joining us. Don't forget, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate you guys for being here so much. Now go forth and let's go get your dream home together. Just don't let it be a nightmare in disguise. This is your Uncle Adam, the First Time Keys Podcast. I'll see you next time. See ya.